I've been bemoaning the fact that Congress has been out of office or been on recess for 7 weeks, but you all have gotten back, and today is we started off with an announcement here with the Speaker saying that he's going to direct at least 2 of the committees, Congressman Comer's committee and Congressman Jordan's committee, the House Oversight Committee and the Judiciary Committee, to initiate finally Biden in an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. What's your initial reaction to that news?
Well, I think it's long overdue. I mean, we've been seeing the evidence of the Biden crime family coming out, especially in the Oversight Committee and some in the Judiciary Committee for months and months and months now. And I'm glad to hear that we're beginning that. I think it's necessary. I think we need to hold the president accountable for what he has done and how our country is being leveraged for his personal profit.
I'm sure you've been back in the district for some time, for the last month or two. What have folks been telling you about what's going on up here? Is it a surprise to you that Speaker McCarthy came back and the first thing he did after the recess of 7 weeks is to announce impeachment? Are you hearing that from your supporter, or from your constituents back home?
Most definitely. I've been hearing that honestly for over a year now. In our district. We are literally the most conservative district in all of Georgia. And people want the government to be held accountable. And when the President of the United States is involved in such incredible corruption like what we are seeing coming out, the evidence coming out of the Oversight and the Judiciary Committees, then people are upset about that. But also they want us to get back to work and to get back to dealing with the weaponization of the government.
Well, we have this personal corruption issue by Biden, and impeachment obviously is necessary. It's obviously not sufficient, as we'll get into. And then the mirror of that is the corruption of the abuse of government abuse targeting President Trump and other innocent Americans. The effort to jail Trump in Washington, D.C., the D.C. prosecutor's office operating in Florida, and then Democratic Party politicians in New York and Georgia also seeking to jail Trump. And the left would have us believe, or frankly the establishment would have us believe, well, these prosecutions, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just like the rain. The weather's going to happen and these prosecutions are going to occur, and there's nothing that can be done about it. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today was because you beg to differ.
I do beg to differ. I think people are tired of all talk and no action. And that's what Congress is famous for, and I don't believe in that. I believe that when there's something that you can do, you do it, and you take action. And this is clearly election interference. Joe Biden's running for president again, and he's having all these issues now where his corruption is coming to light, and he wants to do everything he possibly can to diminish the opportunities of his primary opponent, which is President Trump. So he is going to use, and he said back in November of last year in a press conference that he would use the entire power of the government to keep President Trump from coming back into office. And so when you say that sort of thing and then you see the weaponization of the Department of Justice, where they are going after President Trump for literally, pardon the pun, trumped up charges,
right.
Okay, that it's unconscionable and you have to deal with it. And the way you deal with it is you defund it. Congress has the power of the purse. It's the most powerful thing we can do. We are at the apex of our power right now, the beginning of a new fiscal year. So I am introducing 2 amendments. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. I'm actually on the Commerce, Justice, Science Subcommittee that deals directly with the budget of the Department of Justice. And so I'm introducing 2 amendments, one to defund at the federal level any money going to the prosecution of a presidential candidate between now and the November 24 elections. All right, and then the second amendment will deal with any federal money going to a state or local jurisdiction that prosecutes a presidential candidate. We will eliminate both of them, and that will basically defund the entire prosecution. They can investigate all they want, but they can't prosecute.
So they could spend no taxpayer money pursuing the prosecution currently up here in D.C. on the challenges to the election that President Trump was involved in. nor in Florida. And how would it work with the jurisdictions in New York, the county of Manhattan up there, and Fulton County? Would all federal funding for that state or Georgia be cut off, or how much money and what would be at issue for the states?
Well, it would be the entity that actually does the prosecution.
Right.
Okay. It would not be the state. All right. It would be the prosecutor. All right. And we would completely defund the prosecutor's office of all federal money. And trust me, every state prosecutor gets federal money, and there's a fair bit of it that they get. And so that would go to zero. And I think, of course, they don't have to do that. They could simply say, all right, we're not going to prosecute until after the election. So, but that's not what they want. What they want is election interference, because what that does, Tom, is it makes the process the penalty here. And we can't allow that, because you can't really recover from that. You look at one of the court cases is going to be the week of Super Tuesday. Seriously, start Monday, so there's no opportunity to have a major rally that Monday evening prior to Super Tuesday? I mean, that takes the President Trump, out of the ability to effectively campaign the way he wants to.
That's right.
That's election interference right there.
And the Georgia case is so broad that it would actually freeze the entire campaign operation if he was being very cautious in his communications about what he was talking about on the campaign trail, with not only his colleagues in the campaign, but at the Republican National Committee, and other Georgia leaders are implicated. I think the head of the Georgia Republican Party down there, Mr. Schaefer, isn't he?
Well, there's a lot.
So the point is, they're freezing the political campaigns through these prosecutions as well, which I don't think, I don't understand why judges would accept that invitation to do that. But secondly, it's so obviously corrupted. But what sort of feedback are you getting from your colleagues on this? What I love about this is that there are many of your friends and colleagues on the Hill, and we're talking Republicans mostly here, because Democrats obviously have no problem with jailing their political opponents, obviously, evidently. But the Republicans pretend to be upset about it, or some do, but will fund it. And I think there's got to be some kind of accountability or reckoning for that position. And so, your effort, and I think there's some other members who have similar efforts to push this issue, is well worth taking.
Well, this will be their opportunity, to show where they stand. Do they stand for funding the prosecution of a primary political opponent in a presidential race, or do they not? Will they stand against it? It doesn't mean that it won't ever happen. It just means it can't happen until the presidential election of 2024. I mean, that's the important thing right there. Let the people decide who they want to vote for, and not some prosecutor. Think about this. You've got these grand juries from these very liberal areas, vastly Democrat areas. You've got a Democrat prosecutor, you've got a Democrat judge, you've got a Democrat grand jury, and now a criminal jury pool coming from the same Democrat base. Do you think the president's going to have a fair trial in any of these cases? No. So it's got to be defunded so that liberty and election integrity and justice prevails.
It's election rigging, in my view.